All right, Chuck, let's do this. This will be the last author roundtable we ever do on this podcast. So this has got to be a good one. So you got to stay awake for this one, Chuck.
It's a collector's item then.
Collector's item. In case you didn't know, this is the Mando Method Podcast. I am your co-host, Armand Rosamilia, with an empty bottle of Backstage Peach Mint Whiskey. Chuck, I need another bottle of this. Darius Rucker from Hootie and the Blowfish puts this out. It is probably my favorite thing to drink. I even had it on my desk. I didn't even put it back in the case.
Well, another bottle is on its way. And I'm Chuck Buda, the other co-host, and I'm drinking Monster Energy.
That's so bad for you.
Because I need my B vitamins and L-carnitine and whatever else is in here.
Yeah, you need all that. You know what you really do need, though, Chuck?
What is that?
Reaper's Brew Coffee. I was going through my drawer, so I have my godson James is here from Germany, and he brought his 2-year-old Jordan, who we had never met, because James has been gone for about 3.5 years, married over in Germany. So they came and visited, and we put them in the baseball room. So we got to clean out a couple of drawers for him and a 2-year-old for clothes. And as I'm going through, you know what I found? I found a K-Cup box of Reaper's Brew Coffee. I was very excited, so I put it in I hid it so nobody else can drink them. That's the last one because, unfortunately, Reaper's Brew still has not figured out another distributor for their coffee. So, but they still have really cool mugs, especially if you're a horror fan. They have really cool coffee mugs. They have masks. They have shirts. They have all other kinds of things. And if you use Mando at checkout, Mando, you get 10% off of new orders, plus receive a free gift. So check them out, reapersbrew.com. I'll be drinking these in the next few days.
Yeah, you're lucky.
Yeah. All right, Chuck. So here we go. We got a special guest. He's been with us before. We've known each other and talked for about 8 or 9 years now, doing this writing thing together. And I'd like to think we've both progressed nicely. So let's talk about that. But first, special guest, introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody. What's up? Chuck. How's it going, Mando? So glad to be on the show. This is just awesome. An honor to be on the last show. My name is Nzondi, 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 the author formerly known as Ace Antonio Hall. And I'm a Bram Stoker award-winning author for my book, A Warrior Mosaic. I just dropped a book last year called Lipstick Asylum. And I just dropped a rock song with the drummer from Puddle of Mud on it, playing the drums, Dave Moreno. Good looking out, Dave, and iconic, legendary hip hop artist, Fredro Starr from Onyx. And it's an alternative rock song called Teenage Rockstar, which is basically a song out of my writing in progress, my next book called Shape Drifters. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Let's have some fun, man. You guys are drinking what you're drinking. I'm drinking up your energy, and I love those Marvel comics back there, baby. I love that. Marvel rocks, man.
That's right. Not many people can pull off formerly known as. This dude can. You know what I'm saying? This guy, at some point in his life, he was going to be a formerly known as. That's how cool he is.
That is pretty awesome.
So how'd you get into the music thing now?
Oh man. So I always tell everyone, I was telling the engineer just a little while ago. I was just in the studio. I'm working on a brand new song. You guys are gonna freaking love it. Hopefully I get some kind of sponsorship with it so I can pass out some more stuff for you to drink. It's called Tequila and Rock and Roll. And but I always tell everybody it's kind of like a girlfriend that you dated and you was really engrossed with her, infatuated with her, and you broke up and then you see her again. For me, it's been 17 years later. You see her again and you go, ooh, yeah, I want to, let's do this again. And you go out with her and you realize why you broke up. So that's what music has been for me. I was in the music industry I'm 56, so I was in the music industry when I was 19 and all doing all types of stuff. I had a spec deal a speculative deal. I guess that's what it means. Recording deal at a recording studio called Calliope Records in New York on 37th Street. They loved what I was doing. They gave me free time to work anytime from like 12 at midnight to like 7 in the morning. And I just worked on a lot of music. I worked with a lot of groups, met a lot of people from Madonna to the Jacksons to Prince, but never had a hit. I did end up producing in 94, 95, co-producing a song called Dirty Dog with four New Kids on the Block with Greg Nice from Nice and Smooth. And I did a few songs for a group called Inner City. They were pretty big at the time, around that same time, called Share My Life. I did changes, but that didn't come out. So Share My Life was like number 76 on the Billboard charts. So 2 kind of mediocre songs. And I was like, you know what, homegirl, let's break up. And that's when I started just learning how to write. And meanwhile, I was teaching school at the time, and I learned how to write. And it took me a few years. So that's when I met you in 2014 with my first book, Confessions of Silver Slash, a Hawaiian girl that, kicks a zombie butt. And I've been writing ever since, man. I love it. I'm just loving the horror genre. So yeah, a little long-winded, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, I mean, how do you contrast working in music where it's so many different people are involved? It's almost like a cast of 1,000 versus writing where you're predominantly by yourself, and but you're still being creative in each aspect. So is there stark differences in the creative process when you're working with a lot of people versus by yourself? Or
oh my God, Chuck, yes there is. One of the things that I hated about music, now mind you, as a horror writer, I'm jealous of musicians, I'm jealous of actors and singers for the reason that they can have one hit song and the whole world knows them. And I know plenty of accomplished authors, and I'll say it to just a person, like, hey, do you know Robert Sawyer? Robert J. Sawyer? They're like, who? I'm like, he's like one of the most awarded authors. They don't know him. So that part, I think we should be the most, we should be the rock stars, rock star. We should be the rock stars, authors, writers. But it's not like that. But it's a stark contrast because, like you said, I'm just depending on so many people. I had a session the other night, and I had a young lady that was supposed to do some female vocals. I wanted to kind of keep, be under my vocals and really make it plush. She didn't even show up. Stuff like that, man. So when I'm writing, I show up, I do what I have to do, I get it done, I make my own deadline. So it's a stark contrast. And I personally like, being a writer, having your own, your own timetable and deadlines to do what you got to do. So I love that, about it. But again, music is like, it's like the spiritual language. No matter what language it's in, if it's beautiful, if it's good, if it rocks, if it's funky, if it's slamming, if it's a mosh pit head banging tune, no matter what language it's in, it just moves you. And so I think that's one of the reasons why you can have one hit song and be so great, wherein a lot of people don't read. Let's get some more people to read, that kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, big difference.
Listen, if you want plush female vocals, you got to hear Chuck sing. It's
woo. Come on, Chuck.
I'm a great falsetto.
Oh yeah, I like it, man.
So
I got to hear you.
Doing the writing and then back with the music. Does it bleed into each other, or does it take time from the other one, or are you still able to kind of compartmentalize your different things here?
So I am a little. I can only compartmentalize. I can't do two things at once. So it does take from another. But what I did was I quit music in 2005. Like, gave one of my buddies my guitar, gave him my bass, quit everything, gave all my equipment up, got rid of my recording studio in 2005. And it's been this long, 2022, that I started music. So in 2014, when I quit my six-figure job as a director of education and teaching at the Silver Learning Center, that's when I started writing. So I just focused on writing, and my whole new approach was just master hey, bud, just master this writing, get this down, or really have an innate feel for it, and that's what I did from 2008 when I really started writing until now. So 14 years of writing before I finally, and then I won the Bram Stoker, and then I said, okay, I think I got a good handle on this writing thing. And then the idea came to get back into music. So, and then it's still, the music still takes from the writing, because like normally I would have been writing many hours when I'm not now, because I'm focused on, I got to get this song done. So yeah, can't do the both right now.
Man. Now talk about, I guess, when you're writing, you got to do rewrites and editing
Oh my God.
and go through stuff. And obviously in music, you're not laying down a track on the first take, you're doing multiple sessions and all that kind of stuff. What is, I guess, talk about your editing process when you write. How many times do you typically go through a story after your first draft? Do you have like a set thing where you go through 2 or 3 times, or does it depend on the work?
So I'm gonna ask both of you a question first to answer that and see if we're on the same page. Do either of you have children or pets?
Yeah, we both do.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. So if you have more than one child, this has just been my experience. I have 2 boys, or raised 2 boys. Each story for me, each novel has been like a different child. Each approach has been different. I didn't plan it that way. My first book was a whole learning process, and it was really kind of, about a book as far as structure, writing from beginning to end, and by the time, and when my second book, the night I turned it in, before I turned it in, I had like a 18-hour deadline to turn it in, and I said it's missing something. This is the one that won the Bram Stoker. I did something totally different. It's a medical procedural detective type story, sci-fi horror. I stopped what I was doing, and I started looking at Sherlock Holmes, The Hounds of Baskerville, and I just played, stopped, played, stopped, played, stopped, and every time I stopped, I wrote down, some technique and some different writing points and plot points. And it took me about 3.5 hours, about 4 in the morning when I finished. And I took those plot points and I translated them into how it could be in the form of my book. And then I kind of rewrote everything in my book. So it took me 18 straight hours. And then I turned my novel in. That's the one that won. That was a whole different approach. Then the third book was just a workout book, so that was kind of like someone came to me, Kate Jones with a Z from Omnia Gathering, said he'd been working out a lot. You lost 50 pounds and, like 6 inches in your waist. Why don't you tell us how you did it? And I'm like, a book, like a nonfiction book? I don't know, So that was a whole process, learning how to write. A lot of the stuff that I learned and researched to make sure it was right, I can't even say it verbatim. I have to go back to the book and look it up, look up the notes, that kind of thing. Because it's some of it's here, but so that was kind of a process, a whole different process. And then the book that I'm writing now, was a whole different process. Of a publisher who worked with my father, who actually published the first Black superhero 3 years before the Black Panther, contacted me and said, and this was right after Black Panther, went like $1 billion in the movies. And he contacted me and he said, people don't know that your father wrote the first Black superhero, Little Zing, and it was published. It was in New York. It was in newspapers. He said, you should bring that book back out. And I'm like, he said, with, people kind of accepting, Black superheroes, you should do it. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. So I took about 1 second and realized that I'm not writing. He wrote children's books. So it was a black superhero, but it was more like children's book. Took me about 1 second, maybe 1.5 seconds to realize I can't write 12, 15-page children's books. I have too much to say. I don't even know how to, do that, be that concise. Picture books. I'm like, yeah, this is not happening. And so then I tried to figure out how to write a superhero book. as many comic books as I have, like you, Mando, and have collected, I hadn't studied the genre enough, to know how to write it. So I took some time to write it. Nothing was gelling. That took about 6 to 8 months. That didn't work. And then I figured out what I needed to do. I said, oh, my last 2 or 3 books have delved into this vampire, undead zombie world. Why don't I just make them vampire-like? Everyone knows the vampires have super abilities. And then that kind of started working and gelling. And so literally what I do, every time I sit down to write, I read what I just read. I read the last thing I wrote. Mm-hmm. So every time it's really, I don't know why it's nerve-wracking, but every time I read what I just wrote, whatever the chapter is, I might fix a little thing. I can always fix it. You know how that is. I can always tweak it. And then I write again. And then I continue the story. So it's, each time has been very different for me. This time is a little bit more tedious, but I feel like this is the best story I've ever written, novel that I've ever written. So that's the process. Each time is different.
Cool.
How's it for you guys? How's it for you?
Well, for me personally, I've gotten it to a point where I think I'm pretty good with a first draft, and then I go through the book once after that. When I first started publishing, I was going through books, 3-4 times, going through line by line. And after a while, you get more comfortable with almost accepting the muse that come out initially, because it's kind of, like I think 98% of the genius, not that my stuff's genius, but 98% of what you want to get out there comes out the first time. And then, like you said, it's just tweaks. So really it's just going through, finding the parts that you need to tighten up, and then you move on to the next work. And I think as authors, especially after we've been doing this for so many years, you get more comfortable understanding what you need to look at. So you don't need to necessarily go line by line anymore, but hey, that was a weird transition from, this chapter to this one, or from that scene to the other. And that's kind of where you focus, at least for me. So I know from dealing with Armand for so many years, he writes really clean first drafts. So his process of rewrites is probably even more streamlined than mine, because he's so deft at the writing process. So, but I won't put words in your mouth, Armand. You could go ahead and.
Now that Chuck just answered for me, I knew he was going to say. I write 30 different drafts of each book. Chuck was lying.
Wow.
No, I do one draft. I write a very clean first draft, take my time with it, and then it goes to beta readers, 4 or 5 beta readers. And then they'll hit me with, this makes no sense, and I'm not worried about the typos and stuff like that, because editors will go through and fix that. But I like the continuity errors and the different things. And also, as I'm going through, so once I get all that feedback back, then I go through the book again, not just fixing the errors, but I'm reading through the book again, and I'm trying to find, did I find a theme? Did I find some underlying thing in this? And if I haven't, I look for it. And if I have, I tighten it up, and I make myself look smarter by adding some foreshadowing and some different things in the beginning. But most of that book is 95% done with that first draft. But again, 200 and something releases in my career, so I can knock them out pretty good. And I'm
You're like Jonathan Mayberry. He does the same thing, man.
That's my
knocking out a book.
So I steal the Mando method. Actually started because of Mayberry. Mayberry says he writes the first 45 minutes of an hour, and then he plays around for 15 minutes. So the Mando method is I write for the first 15 minutes, and then I play around for 45 minutes. So I do about 600 words in that 15-minute clip. And it's just like I only have 15 minutes to write as much as I can, just get words down on the paper. And it works. And I do that 2 or 3 or maybe 4 times a day on good days. And you're getting 2,500 words or whatever. So my thing is not to write 10,000 words a day. My thing is to write 600 or 1,000 really good words that I'm going to keep. And so that for me, that's really always worked for me. I think is just but you learn what you can and cannot do. You learn from having editors who say, "This is crap. Stop using this word. Stop doing this. Stop doing that."
Right. Yeah. I forgot too. So when I first started, I was with the Greater Los Angeles Writers Society, GLAWS, and then I became vice president and also became the head of all the critique groups. So I had a lot of feedback. My first two books from the critique groups, so it was kind of like beta readers in a way. I mean, it was beta readers. So that helped me out a lot. Yeah,
that's always fun to have those people who, I have about a dozen people that I can use at any given moment, which is great. So I'll kind of pick, depending on the book, I'll pick certain people, and if it's not too crazy, which I don't really write too extreme anymore, my wife will be the first beta reader. And she's real good, and just that red pen comes out, and I'm like, oh, and she's beating the crap out of that book.
Ruthless.
Yeah, but I like that. I don't hold back, because my thing is I would rather those 5 people found problems rather than potentially millions of readers find those problems in the book.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's kind of a fun way of doing it. And I juggle multiple projects at once. I got like 15 different things that I'm working on right now.
Yeah. So when I was writing, sans music, I'm doing that with the writing. Like I just signed a book contract last week. I'm really excited about this anthology, which I can't really talk about right now, but everyone in the anthology are like writers that I, aspire to be as great as one day, just phenomenal writers. And man, I think it's a really great story. I spent a lot of time on it. And it seems like the publisher thinks it's an awesome story too. It's going to be like his home runner. What do you call it? In baseball, the guy that hits last,
Cleanup.
Cleanup.
Yeah. I don't know if that's even a good analogy, but yeah, he wants to put it last and just, like put a little period punctuation on the end of the anthology.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of happy.
Well, Anthony, your first story, your middle story, and your last story, those are your big 3 stories.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Because you want to hook them in from the beginning. You want to hit that lull in the middle, and then you want to hit them at the end with that great story. And I love reading anthologies that understand that, and they don't have like that 20,000 word long boring story to end, because that's that last. Your story is the last taste in somebody's mouth when they finish that.
Yeah.
When they close that book. That's what they're gonna remember right in that moment.
Yeah.
Good. So,
cool.
Yeah, that's an honor to be in that spot.
Yeah, man, I'm very honored.
So when you win the Stoker, does it mess with your head? Do you go, okay, great, no matter, now I got to top this again. Now my next book's got to be great. My next book's got to be the same thing. I gotta follow this. It's kind of like a band that has that first album that sells 5 million records, and they're like,
I was just gonna say that.
We just got to reprint. We just got to do the same album again. We just got to keep writing the same album over and over.
That's the best analogy I can use. So how like some things, I really feel like we've all been here before. Like some things you just know, like in your cells just know it. And initially, you feel like, oh my God, I gotta top this. I gotta do this again. I can't let people down. And then I thought about, there are so many recording artists that have that album that was just so phenomenal, and they never did it again. It's the time. It was what they experienced when they were writing it that led up to it, the chemistry, who they wrote with, the music, whatever, the times, and it just, sometimes you just can't duplicate that. And to put that much pressure on yourself again is ridiculous. You just learn. For me, I just learned, and I'm trying to do the best that I can. I do feel like it's a better story because I feel like I've learned so much more, and I've read even more books, than when I wrote my last book. So I feel like I'm more developed, but who knows, So I don't put that much pressure on me as far as trying to match the last book. because I understand it might not be as good as the one that won the Bram Stoker. But oh my God, just to win the Bram Stoker, to be the first Black to win it in a novel category is just, floored me. Just doing that, was amazing of itself. So, and being respected and honored by your peers like that, was just like, like it's crazy, bananas.
So when do you meet people? Do you put the hand and go, "Hi, I'm a Bram Stoker award-winning"? Because that's what Chuck would do. Chuck would announce
Definitely.
everything.
No
You
doubt.
know what I've learned?
He would say, "Waiter, can I get another water? I'm a Bram Stoker award winner."
It's funny that you say that, and not exactly like that, but I've learned that, especially with writing, people do not know. They don't even know what a Bram Stoker is.
Yeah.
A lot of people. So I always have to come with a Bram Stoker is one of the most prestigious awards a horror writer can win. Somewhat like a Grammy, then they get it, or like an Academy Award, and then I hit them with, except this is in the whole world, and then they understand the depth of it,
Right.
So yeah, you kind of have to, I kind of have to do that sometimes when I meet
Yeah.
someone, because they don't even know what it is, they don't understand it. So yeah, I do that. Yeah, hey waiter, can I get a Bram? No, I don't do it like that. Bring some wine over here for my lady and the Bram Stoker Award winning.
Or do
Hurry up.
you say, "Hey, can you put that bottle of wine right here on the table next to my Bram Stoker award, which I bring with me every time I leave the house"?
I have it right here. Look. No,
Were you talking to me? I was shining my Bram Stoker award. What did you say something?
True story. I already worked on the design for my neck tattoo. So when I win it, like 30 years from now, I'm going to have the neck tattoo right there.
I
that
love it, man.
shows. And, that way it'll be out in the forefront for everybody.
Listen, Chuck, I used to tell my students the lion metaphor. I used to say, okay, you bring a cub lion home to your mother, and it's a cute little, cuddly, cute little lion. But why does she jump on the table and say, "Boy, get that thing out of here"? Because she understands it's a lion. It's going to grow. It's going to eat a lot. It's a beast. I said, so you got to look at yourselves like you are a lion already. You just haven't gone through all the stages of development, but you're a beast. Chuck, you're a beast. Win it, baby. Get that tattoo now. Get it now.
I am. I appreciate it. And I actually smell like a beast right now, too. I mean, I'm just kidding. I did shower earlier, but if you guys don't mind, I wanted to jump back to, when we were talking about when you were part of that that group in New York with like the critiquing and stuff.
Yeah.
It sounds like you got a lot of good feedback and all, and we've talked on this show, Armand and I, a lot of times about criticism groups and how people take it, because of the egos that are involved. And then also sometimes you just don't know some writers groups, the people who seem to be the most vociferous in terms of providing their input are not necessarily the ones that you want to listen to or accept feedback from anyway, because it turns out it's somebody who's never published something or whatever. Did you have any kind of like hurt feelings or anything when they gave you the feedback, and like how did you take that? Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, but how do you internalize it and then turn it into good? Because a lot of us, I think, as writers, we're all introspective, but at the same time, we have that ego and we want people to love us, and then when somebody gives us something to help us, we feel like they're attacking us.
So I was a cub when I first started, because I just started writing. I was lucky. I had one thing going for me. I had the experience of being a teacher. So when Tony and Tadara made me the vice president, and also made me the critique group manager, I was able to take some of the best practices of teaching students into running a critique group, which was, I started establishing some bylaws and some rules. Before you tell anyone anything about what they read, you tell them you say something positive, what they did good. And instead of telling them what they did bad, you tell them how they, perhaps how they could improve. That was so crucial to our whole process as a critique group. Saying what's good, and then, hey, maybe you could do this. Maybe you can improve this way, right? That was crucial. Number two, as a critique group manager, whenever someone kind of went too harsh or too, I felt like it was going out of line, I was able to kind of, interrupt and smooth it back out. That was good. The other thing was when I got that feedback from one of my books or one of my stories or chapters, and my first, as a new writer was like, I don't know what the hell they talking about. They don't even understand what I'm doing here. And then I started growing. I started realizing that, hey man, and we had a big critique group, 18 people. We started out like 18 people. Like when like 10, 12 people say the same thing, maybe consider it. It doesn't mean you have to rewrite it or change it, but consider it when 10 or 12 people are saying the same thing. So I started realizing that, and that helped me through my process. To this day, when I get the feedback back and someone says, do this, do that, this could be better, I still get that initial, shut the heck, what are they talking about? Screw down. And then I kind of just take a step back and I say they're for team Nzondi. They're trying to make sure this is the best. All right, let's see what I can do. And then I do it. But I'm also at a stage where when I first started writing, I wasn't developed yet as a writer. So now when I write stuff, I know why I made the decisions that I made. So when I'm questioned on those decisions, I say, well, the reason why it's like that is because this, and that. And then if the editor decides to kind of question that or give me some validity or, some feedback on that, we can talk about that. But for the most part, now I'm like, thank you for that, but I'm still keeping it like this because I understand this is crucial to the story. So I'm a little different now as a writer now.
As long as you can back it up.
Yeah.
In your mind, you can back it. I just did edits on Saturday, came back on a book, and you open up and I start going through and first red mark, first line I see, I always say bullshit, and then I read what it is. Yeah. And I just go from there, and I go through line by line, and I'm like, all right, that makes sense. All right, this would make it better. And most of the time I'm doing it. And then there's a couple here and there that I'll give that pushback on. Yeah. But again, like you said, it makes sense to me, and I think it's going to make sense to the reader. And you check your ego at the door.
Yeah.
When you're doing that, I think that's really important. A lot of new writers, they write that book, and this is the Bible. I mean, there's not going to be any better story ever out there. That kind of attitude.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem with it.
Right. Yeah. You grow, so hopefully as a writer, when you're new like that, you kind of, you learn and you develop and you get better with taking feedback. I got a question for you guys, and this is a brand new thing that just happened to me yesterday. And I want to talk about it. I'm so excited about it. And I'd seen clips of this thing, and I'd heard about this thing, but when I saw this thing, I love this thing. And I'm talking about, this person could be my daughter if I had a daughter. Wednesday. Have you seen the dancing scene on Wednesday?
I haven't watched that show yet.
I haven't watched.
Okay, so when I first started watching the first episode, I was like, I don't know. But second episode and the third, I'm like, okay, this is cute. I'm digging this, because I didn't watch, I think they redid the Addams Family like last year or the year before or something like that. I heard they did. I don't know if it came out. And I think I watched a trailer of it. And I'm like, yeah, I can't. But Wednesday, hey man, and when I saw that dance, did you watch Umbrella Academy, that silly series? Very
I
silly.
didn't. My whole family watched it. I didn't.
So silly. It's so, oh my God, it's so silly, but it's entertaining. Really silly. I didn't really like, I don't like comedy and my horror stuff for the most part. But man, that dance scene in Wednesday is phenomenal. Well done. I heard she had COVID when she did the scene.
Hmm.
But anyway, it's just iconic and phenomenal. And I've started seeing little clips of it on little commercials and stuff like that, and hearing it on like K-Rock, which is our big rock station here in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought you guys. So we can't talk about it. You haven't seen it, so never mind.
Yeah, I haven't seen it now.
So they're singing and dancing in that show, or just one
Uh,
scene?
It's kind of like it's a teenage show, the YA show.
Okay.
And with YA shows, you kind of have, well, actually, you know this from Christopher Vogel, if you ever studied that. Almost every story should have a meeting place. And in that meeting place, what do we do? If it's a ghost, if it's camp, we're around a campfire. If it's a romantic comedy, we go to a dinner, If it's teenagers, we're at a party, we're in a club, that kind of thing. And if it's high schoolers or students, they have dances. So this is at a dance,
Okay.
like a kind of I don't know what kind of dance, but like a high school dance that they have. And, she kind of breaks character in a way, because she's very stoic, but she breaks character and just loosens up and is dancing. It's freaking phenomenal, man. It's really great stuff.
Not gonna go watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. Chuck, you got a last question?
What? Is it over? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. The time's gone by so fast. I don't have anything else prepared. I was trying to think.
I have a question.
All right,
Yeah.
go ahead. Yeah, you.
When all this new music comes out, are we gonna be able to hear it?
Yeah, you can go right now. Okay, so right now, Teenage Rockstar with 2 R's is we just did a really cool live action lyric video. That's on YouTube. You can Google or go to YouTube and search Nzondi. It's pronounced like Enzondee, Nzondi. Teenage Rockstar with 2 R's, and it'll pop up. You can check it out there. It's on all DSPs or digital music playlists or platforms. It's on all of them. So you can go get it. You can download it. You can play it. You can buy it. So it's out there. And then hopefully somewhere around beginning of the year, maybe Super Bowl time, we're gonna drop Tequila and Rock and Roll, which we'll record. We're finishing up now, and I just found this incredible, badass guitarist from Portugal, who's really heavy metal, and he's really, oh my God. So I hit him up last night. His solo's incredible. This guy is phenomenal. So hopefully we can make it happen. And it's just what I need in that song to really make it hit hard. So, yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing your next award-winning thing.
I don't know about that, but I'm working hard to just put out as much quality content and work and books as I can, man. Same for you. Look forward to seeing you guys.
Yeah, we'll do something, I'm sure, down the line after we wrap up this podcast in January.
Yeah, man. So why are you wrapping it up?
Oh, I can't stand talking to Chuck anymore. He's driving me nuts. It's just it's the return on investment type of thing for us.
Got it.
It's all the hours we're putting in, recording and setting up and the editing and all the time and everything. We've 300 and we'll end up on 333 episodes.
Wow.
Which is a lot of episodes to talk about writing and stuff.
That's amazing. It's phenomenal.
It's time for a reset.
Yeah.
Kudos to you too.
We might get back to something down the line. Who knows?
Yeah,
right now it's just going to be the writing. All right. Where can people find you out there?
You can go to teenagerockstar.com and all of my music and stuff is there. Or you can go to A as in Apple, Antonio Hall, H as in Harold, A as in Alice, Louise, ANtonioHall.com. And that's where all my books and stuff like that is at. And check me out. Yeah.
And Chuck, check out reapersbrew.com. Mugs, shirts, other stuff. And use Mando at checkout, Mando. You get 10% off of new orders. Plus, you receive a free gift. Check them out. It was awesome having you. I'm glad you were our last author roundtable guest, and we got you for the whole time. It was very cool. And good luck with everything, man. I mean, you are killing it.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. This has been a blast, man. And next time I see you guys, hopefully I'll be able to give each one of you a bottle of tequila.
That would be nice.
That won't go to waste.
You just woke Chuck up.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you.